Now, timing is everything, and this holds true for your MS applications. The fall intake is the most popular in the US. It's the traditional start of the academic year, and every university will have a fall intake for pretty much every program. Now, if you're applying for the fall intake or thinking about it, you'll have several questions. When should you take the GRE? Should you take the IELTS before the GRE? When should I start working on my SOP? What are the priority deadlines or early action deadlines? Now, in this video, I'm going to be covering several critical milestones for the fall application process. And throughout the video, I'm going to be giving you small tips and tricks that can be a game changer that will increase your likelihood of getting into your dream university. Like I said, it's all about timing, and this video will cover the perfect timing. So stay tuned. Now, before I go into the chronology of the timeline, I'd like to cover the end game, which is the most important part of the application process, the date by which you have to have all your application materials ready and ready to submit. This end game typically is between November 1st to November 15th. A lot of universities, in fact, a majority of them, have deadlines either December 15th or January 15th. Some have deadlines beyond that as well in February and March. But you'll have to understand applying early gives you a massive advantage. Hence, you should have your application materials ready irrespective of the deadline and submit all your applications by the 1st or the 15th of November. Apart from this, there are a few universities that I will keep telling you about in the duration of this video that have deadlines in October and September as well. But by and large, because this is a general video, November 1st or November 15th is your end game and your magic date. Every intermediate milestone will be keeping this date in mind and us working backwards. Now, the fall 2026 intake means that you have to start your master's education in August or September of 2026. Your entire preparation for this process begins almost a year and a half in advance. The first step in this process that we recommend is GRE Prep. It would be a good idea to start your basic initial GRE coaching in the month of January or February 2025. You'll have to understand that GRE will take 1 month of dedicated preparation for you to be familiar with the format and the types of questions, and a month of dedicated practice where you're mastering what you've learned about the format of the exam and executing with great accuracy within the tight timelines of the GRE itself. So 1 month of dedicated practice preceded by 1 month of learning and getting yourself familiar with the exam. If you start by January or February, you'll be in a good position to give your first attempt of the GRE in April. Now, keep in mind that admissions committees do not care about the number of attempts you give on the GRE. Also, with the thousands of students we've guided in recent years during the application process who've been giving the GRE, we've seen in almost 80 to 85% of the cases, there is an improvement in the score from the first attempt to the second attempt. Between the second to the third, there's usually not an improvement, but definitely budget for 2 attempts at least. Sticking to the element of the GRE, you will need to finish all your attempts of the GRE, whether it's 2 attempts or 3 attempts, by the 15th of August. Why we say 15th of August specifically is because we like to play around with the term by Independence Day, be independent of the GRE, because after that you will have to focus on your application materials. Every year the number of materials being asked by universities is increasing. So irrespective of the number of attempts you give, by August 15th, don't keep giving subsequent attempts of the GRE. Try your best not to be in that position. Now, the months of April, May, June, July are often the most neglected by applicants because, of course, you're in the midst of GRE prep and you want to focus on that. But a very important element of the application is ignored at this point in time, which is your university shortlisting. Please don't make the mistake of starting your university shortlisting after the GRE is done. You'll have to understand that a vast majority of universities, even for fall 2026, are likely to keep the GRE as an optional requirement. Even in previous years before COVID, where GRE was a hard requirement, it was not the most important element of your application. Hence, the kind of universities that you can get into are determined far more by your GPA, your technical projects, your internships, your research papers, or if required, your work experience as well. You will have a fair idea of the kinds of colleges you can get into based on the rest of your profile. The GRE, even if you get a score that is below your expectations, will not prevent you from making it to a top tier school. However, for a lot of universities where it's a hard requirement, you still want to have a score so that that box is ticked and they're reading your application. Irrespective of it's optional or required, understand in most cases that a 315 plus, a 315 plus is more than good enough for you to be considered very seriously by a lot of top universities for a variety of programs provided the rest of your profile is good. This brings me back to my point that your university shortlisting absolutely has to be done, and a lot of time needs to be spent on it in the months of April to June. Another big reason why we ask you to dive into the application by August 15th is because in recent years, universities have been doing surprising things with priority deadlines. Last year, the Indiana University Bloomington Kelley School of Business MIS program had a September 1st deadline. A lot of students started their university shortlisting at a later stage in the months of October and November, and they missed the priority deadline, and all that university needed was one resume for you to apply, and students had great success. That's why do your university shortlisting part early. Okay, I think now is a good time for a breather to tell you that if you're confused with this timeline or need more personalized advice, you can schedule a free consultation call with the Gradvine team at the time of your convenience. You can use a link in the description to schedule the call, or log on to www.gradvine.com to schedule a call. Or if you have issues with internet access, and at this point I'm wondering how you're watching this video, well, if you still do, you can call us on 9000081081. I'm going to touch upon the small element of the English proficiency, which is a compulsory requirement. GRE may be optional, but English proficiency is not. When do you take it? Well, for English proficiency, like the IELTS, TOEFL or Duolingo, it does not matter where you fit it into this timeline as long as you have the score by the deadline date. Now, unlike GRE, which has to be done by the 15th of August, you can tackle your IELTS, TOEFL or Duolingo along with your application material preparation in the months of August through November, because these exams are far simpler and won't take as much of your time. That's why if you'd like to finish the GRE and TOEFL in one go and try and finish it by August, that's also absolutely fine. But if you even need to stretch it to your application material preparation time, that is also alright. That is completely up to you. So now we are in the month of August. Hopefully you have your GRE done and you've done your university shortlisting to a fair extent. Maybe there's a little bit of tweaking here and there, does not matter. But now that the list is ready and your score is set, you're all set to work on your application materials. Application materials are of two kinds. The first kinds are ones that are in your control, and the second that are not in your control. Let me cover the second type of application materials. From your college, you will need transcripts and recommendation letters. The start of August is a very good time to talk to the academic cell in your college and gather all your academic transcripts. Remember that transcripts are not memos. These are usually yellow colored documents, and your academic cell would know if you say you need it for the purpose of applying to universities abroad. Universities will require these transcripts to be uploaded on their application portals. Don't worry about sending physical transcripts by courier. Most universities do not require it at this point in time. But you need to have at least one set of transcripts to scan and upload. The other element not in your control are your recommendation letters. The start of August is a very good time to start approaching professors, telling them that you want to apply to 8, 10, 12 or 15 universities, and tell them that they're going to be receiving emails and that they have to upload their recommendation letters on there. Now, professors might say that you have to work on the content and send it to them and they'll sign off on it, or they might want to write it themselves. Whatever it is, telling them early by the start of August will give them enough time. You'll have to understand that once you start filling your applications, it does not matter when the professor uploads a recommendation letter. They can upload the recommendation letter after you submit the application, before you submit the application, or before you fill in any other section of the application as well. All you have to do is enter your recommender's email ID and their details and their phone number, and they get a link through which they can upload the application. Because this is independent, don't wait to finish everything else before you get the LOR uploaded, because by chance if the professor is not cooperating or traveling, it might delay your application review. Get that out of the way first, early, and then you can work on the rest of your elements of your application. Long video, so time for another plug. We are happy to announce that we have WhatsApp communities where I will be available to answer all your questions throughout your application journey, that you can join for absolutely free. The links to our Fall 2026 community and different subgroups, MS in CS, MS in MIS, MS in MEM, are all available in the description below. Send the request, join in and interact with the Gradvine team throughout the year. Alright, so the transcripts are sorted, recommendation letter requests and telling your professors they have to upload is hopefully sorted. So now you have elements of your application that are in your control. Your application materials that you will have to write will be your statement of purpose, your resume, additional application essays such as scholarship essays and diversity essays. Now, all of these vary from university to university. Some universities ask for 6 different essays, some just need an SOP. Some ask for an SOP that's about 300 words long, the others will ask for SOPs that are 1500 words long. All of this takes time. That's why we've asked you to finish with your GRE by August 15, so that you have the time from August 15 to the first week of November or the middle of November to work on these materials and focus on them in a leisurely manner. While you're starting with your application materials in the month of August, do check if any of the universities and programs you're applying to require a third-party transcript evaluation. They might require some external agencies to convert your Indian grades, which could be in a percentage or a 10-point scale format, to a 4-point scale. If you start early, you can figure out whether you want to pay for these transcript evaluations, because they might take a month or 2 months depending on the amount of load they have. Now, if you do manage to submit your applications by the 1st or the 15th of November, you could hear back from universities as early as December. And yes, Gradvine students have seen acceptances come in even before the application deadline has passed. That's why apply early. Or sometimes it might be as late as April or May, so don't panic. So that was your application timeline. I'm not going to cover the post-admit process because we're going to do a separate video on that. But if you follow these intermediate milestones, you will be maximizing your chances of getting into a top-notch university. I also understand that it is very, very difficult to stick to these milestones absolutely perfectly. You might be watching this video throughout the year and maybe you started out a little late. It's absolutely fine. Even if you don't do it perfectly, it does not mean you will not see success. But try following elements of this as closely as possible because it will save you a lot of stress. I hope you found this content useful. If you did, please do like, share and subscribe. Or even if you don't do that, share this with somebody who will benefit from this video. Thank you.